Hey guys, it's Hayden Danielson here, and the movie I chose to do for the movie presentation was Monsters Inc. So throughout this video, I'll be kind of glancing down at my phone just for notes and just to explain like how Monsters Inc. Has kind of some ethical dilemmas and then character growth and building ethical principles throughout it. And I'm going to kind of do this by going through kind of each of the principles and then just kind of explaining how certain characters either did really good kind of in these areas or did really bad. So the first ethical principle we've got is the egoism principle, which kind of just says that you'll do what's best for your long-term interests. So this one is kind of self-absorbed. So one of the characters, Mr. Waternoose, and I've got a picture of him just in case. So he's kind of the owner, the CEO, the boss. He was the spider guy. So he shows that he'll do what's best for the company, especially towards the end when he screams at Sully that he'd kidnap 1,000 children before he'd let the company die. So this is really just kind of being selfish, and even though he explains it in a way that seems like he's doing the best for others, he's really just kind of doing what's best for him and his profits and his company, and without looking at any like alternatives for the business or the energy crisis that's going on. Another character, Randall, who was right here. He's the purple lizard guy. He kind of has the egoism principle going on when he competes with Sully for the highest all-time scare record, and inventing his new technology to reduce or eliminate the need for constant scaring by using the door method. With his invention, the scream extractor, which is highly unethical. Mike Wazowski participates in this too because he does what's best for him by encouraging Sully to not go after Boo or return Boo or do things like that throughout the movie, and simply covering up their mistake. So he's trying to think about their careers long term. And then for a brief moment, Sully also participates in the egoism principle because he continues to scare just to keep up his scare record and keep his job and stay the best at the company. So next we have the utilitarian principle, which says that basically you'll do the do the best for everyone within the company. So or do what's best for everyone in the company. So as the movie progresses, Sully adopts this principle for Boo and his coworkers. So it would be better to return her home and discuss this issue with Mr. Waternoose later than kind of go through whatever whole ordeal there was for how the government or whatever they have in the movie deals with humans. And then when the factory is going to shut down, Sully catches something that Mike says towards the end, which leads to a cleaner, better energy source than screaming, which is laughter. It's 10 times more effective. So through finding this new energy source, Sully saves everyone from losing their jobs at the factory and finds an energy source that is more effective and efficient than the last. Mike Wazowski also does this. And although he's skeptical about the steps to achieving it, he also adopts the utility principle with Sully to help better everyone's lives in the end, and he wants to be a part of that. So he even does this with Sully by repairing Boo's door at the end of the movie so that Sully can visit her. So he's doing the best thing for everyone. So next we move on to the principle of rights, which is basically doing things that would be in line with other people's rights or just simply not violating others' rights through what you do. So we can see this, the rights violated of other people when Randall captures Mike and later Boo with the scream extractor. So I have no idea what regulations are in place for humans in the Monsters Inc. universe, but I gotta imagine that capturing a human and bringing them back and just extracting the screams out of them is still considered highly unethical in their universe, um, as well as testing out this new method on a fellow employee. That's never something that's encouraged, to try out a really experimental procedure or product on someone without even thinking about like the side effects or any other negative effects. Um, so, uh, yeah, so through that, Boo is almost forced to give up her screams in order to test this new project, which, and this is kind of a loose analogy, but like, it'd be like if we were testing an extremely harmful, and we knew it was harmful, like dog shock collar on a dog without testing for side effects or anything like that. He was basically just doing a bare bones procedure with no other information, which is highly unethical. When Waternoose admits that he would kidnap thousands of children towards the end of the movie, this also violates the rights of the children, because essentially what you're doing is ripping them out of their homes and putting them through the scream extractor for energy, and leaving the children permanently scarred for life. And then the last one I had for this was when the CDA responds to the code 2319, which I have a little picture here of, with the orange character there. George has the sock on his back, which you can't bring anything from the human world back, otherwise you get a 2319 code, which is really bad. But so when the CDA responds to this code, they violate the rights of George, because they, even though they're trying to provide a safe work environment, they proceed to shave him, tackle him, and sanitize him multiple times for things that probably, like, they haven't tested for. They don't even know if it's harmful. They just assume. And this kind of ties into like the false appeal to authority and false appeal to popularity. The only reason that they have this code is because other people have said it and higher ups have said it's harmful. There's no good reason for it to be in place. So next is the principle of duties, which says you should do the right thing because it's simply the right thing to do. Sully steps in as the new CEO or owner of Monsters, Inc., so he makes sure that everyone has a job, that had a job, and this could kind of be tied into the utility principle, but he wants to make sure that everyone also has power, and highly efficient power. So you could kind of consider this, I guess, like green energy, or just an alternative method compared to scaring kids for their screams. Instead, they switch to laughter. So Sully goes from wanting to return Boo simply to avoid consequences, and then wants to return her because it's the right thing to do. Once again, kind of going back to the dog analogy, we would never like rip a dog away from its rightful owner. So taking a human into their monster world without giving them back, or just kidnapping them, is violating their rights, and also is not the right thing to do. Mike Wazowski also helps Sully because they've been friends, roommates, and coworkers for years, and this is the right thing to do to continue their friendship and loyalty to one another. And then just a small side note, Mike also tries to owe an explanation to Celia, his girlfriend, because he basically abandoned her on like one of their most important like dates in their relationship. So this is the right thing to do because he kind of left the date open-ended and didn't really give an explanation for why he left. And then lastly, we have the principle of virtues, which says you should just basically be trying to constantly better your character. So throughout the movie, Mike and Sully improve their characters, showing that in the end, they would ultimately do the right thing for the company as a whole, rather than try and save their own skin. And then on top of that, they succeeded in removing coworkers who were negatively impacting the company and creating a bad image, like Randall and Mr. Waternoose. So this could be compared to nowadays, like say you have a really corrupt CEO or something who just refuses to try any new methods, and this is actually negatively impacting the company and the environment and any other external factors you might have, even customers. You should probably take that up with someone, and maybe even take it up with to the standard of law to be able to get that CEO out of the position he's in and someone better. So this just kind of wraps up the notes I had, and shows that throughout the movie, many ethical issues are brought up, and it shows that in the realm of business and in the factory, that there is a lot to consider, even just in this simple children's movie, of how companies normally, I think, would handle certain situations to try to cover it up, but really that's not the right thing to do. And in the end, there may be a better method to bettering the company, or growing the company and making better. So yeah, that's been my take on Monsters Inc. and the ethical principles that were presented within the movie.